Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello.
Today we are going to be doing another deck list profile. So today's deck list is sort of my take on a Zacian V Lucario Melmetal deck. I know a lot of the Zacian V decks I've seen by other US PokeTubers at the point that I'm recording this, at least, have been focused on like the ADP Zacian, which is like, how do we hit harder and take extra prizes, which might be the way to go. This is just my own take on something that says, how can we tank really hard, but also probably hit pretty hard back. So yeah, that's just sort of a quick intro. There's probably a bunch of different variations of this deck as well. I don't know if this exact 60 is the right 60. There's probably cards that you could cut, cards that you could put in. This is just sort of a baseline, really. A way of thinking about the deck, and then take it from there and do what you will with it. So without further ado, let's just sort of jump into the deck profile. As per usual, we're going to start with the Pokemon. Now, I do have a very small line of Jirachi. We're going to start with Jirachi as sort of that starting point Pokemon. I have it in here. I don't think that it is a necessary Pokemon. You don't have to get this Pokemon down in order for the deck to run. It is a plus-up Pokemon. It's a good pivot Pokemon as well. So, but I only have two of them in there. In here, it's really hard to find space. Again, maybe there's a version that you build that has 4 Jirachis, so you always get it out turn 1. But that's my initial one. Then we have 2 Lucario Melmetal tag team Pokemon. Now, the reason that you have 2 of these is because of Full Metal Wall GX. You want to try to get this off as early as possible in a game, but also at a point when your opponent's active Pokemon has energy on it. So the idea is with 2 energy attached, you take 30 less damage, your metal types do, or maybe all of them? Yeah, your metal types take 30 less damage the rest of the game, and you get rid of all of your opponent's active Pokemon's energy with an extra energy attached. So try to get this out early, use Full Metal Wall GX, and then go from there. All right. So sorry about that random jump cut. I accidentally knocked into the camera. So the next Pokemon is Zacian V. This is going to be what I think is our main attacker. It does the most damage. It has a little bit of beefiness to it at 220 HP. Nothing crazy, but with Full Metal Wall, and if you get a Frying Pan on, it's negative 60. So, you know, when he's fresh, it's basically like having a 280 HP 2-prizer, which is pretty good. And a 2-prizer that hits for 230 damage. Now, the other thing about this Pokemon is its ability, which you can't read here because it's Japanese, but basically you can, at any point during your turn, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then attach any metal energy, if you choose, that you find of those 3 cards to this Pokemon. If you don't find any, you just keep those cards in hand. Now, if you do that, then your turn ends. So this is a great Pokemon to have if you have to go first when you're starting because you can't use supporter, so it's another way to draw. This deck also, because it's very tanky, you will have instances where maybe you're like, okay, I'm just waiting on my opponent to make a move. I'll take a turn off, I'll just draw 3 extra cards, hopefully find the pieces that I need. So, 2 Zacian Vs. This is, again, a very slim line. And then we have 1 Zacian V. Zacian V, we have this in here because of its ability primarily. Now, its ability, it's got 230 HP. It's a little tankier, I guess. But its ability says that this Pokemon can't be damaged by your opponent's VMAX Pokemon. Who knows how many VMAX decks are really going to dominate the format and how important those will be. My guess is, though, that early deck lists, especially new ones, will favor VMAX Pokemon because A, they're tanky, B, they hit through Keldeo. So it's going to have a lot of upside. So if you are up against something like Lapras VMAX or Snorlax VMAX, getting one of these down in association with a couple of the others is really beneficial. Its attack does 130, and you discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So not an amazing attack, but definitely serviceable. And now this is where my version of the deck starts to get a little bit different than probably what you've seen. I have opted for a Galarian Meowth and Galarian Berserker line here. The Meowth is whatever, it's just a Meowth, right? But the Berserker benefit of this one is It is, I believe it stacks the ability. And what you do is you add 20 damage to your active Pokemon's attack, active metal Pokemon's attack, I believe. So because they stack, you basically, if you get, my cat is jumping on top of my computer. If you get 3 of these down, then basically you're hitting 60 extra damage, which to me, this is what does the bit that ADP, part of what ADP is doing with its GX. So you're not only super tanky with this deck, you're also outputting a lot more damage if you can get 2 or 3 of these down. 2 of these down make Zacian V's attack do 270, which is perfect to hit most of the tag team GXs out there. Now, we've got another line of Pokemon that is interesting. We have a 2-2 line, 2-0-2 I should say, of Rookidee and Corviknight. So I have opted not to bother with the middle ones, instead opt for Rare Candy. But the reason that I love the new Corviknight in this set is this second attack. The second attack for 1 metal and 2 colorless, but I'm only running metal, does 130, and this Pokemon takes 100 less damage from your opponent's attacks next turn. So what that basically does, my cat is walking around my desk right now. Oh boy. What that basically means is you have 170 HP. Let's say you've got a frying pan and full metal wall up. Okay, so you take 60 less damage, then you take 100 less damage. To Goku. Basically, you have to hit for 330 damage to get through all of the defenses that are now up. I think that is huge for a one prizer. Imagine having to waste the resources to take out 330 HP on a one prizer. It's insane in terms of the trade, the resource trade. So that's why I'm running this. So you can kind of sort of see, oh Lord, my cat knocked this over again. Apologies for the cut again. My cat knocked into the camera. He is insane. He's on the shelf back there. He's adorable, but he's crazy. Okay, so that is the Pokemon line. So yeah, you can kind of see that this is a bit probably different than what you've seen. The idea behind this, again, be super tanky and have the ability to hit pretty hard. So that's all the Pokemon. Let's get into the supporter line. We have 4 of the new Professor's Research Magnolia, which lets you discard your hand and draw 7 cards. So this helps you really dig through the deck very quickly, which in the dozen or so matches that I've played against this, I've actually found myself on the verge of decking out very often, even against very fast decks. So I think this deck really blows through its deck very quickly, which is good. And then you have 2 Rosas. I think this is great because if you leave a Jirachi up in the active, if they knock out one of your Zacians, something like that, then you can just use this Rosa. And the odds of you having it in your hand, it's only 2 of, but I have found that I usually have it in my hand at some point in the game. And it's a great card to do a comeback, grab a metal frying pan, an energy, or a rare candy, or, an incense, something, just to help you get something new set up. 2 Cynthias, because every now and again with this deck, you have a hand that's just like, this is trash. I want to see something different. So I found these to be somewhat helpful. I used to have a Lily line as well, but I switched that out for like the Rosas. And then 2 Mallow and Lanas just to be even tankier. So if they hit into you, but they can't knock you out, boom, heal a bunch of damage, put a Jirachi or something else up, and then you can retreat right back in and do another attack. Also, you need more switching options for Zacian's attack, which you can't attack the next turn, obviously, unless you switch out, just like Reshiram and Charizard. So switching option as well. Now that's the supporter line. Now let's get into the rest of the items. So we have a 4 count, as you would expect from most new decks, of Quick Ball, which lets you discard a card and then go grab a basic Pokemon from your deck. Great card. We have only a 3 count of Incense. The reason for just the 3 count being, at some point with the Magnolias, I'll draw into the Pokemon, but 3 seems like a good number. You could maybe even cut this down to 2. But, you have them in hand, then you can go grab a couple of Berserkers, maybe a Corviknight when you need it. Outside of finding Pokemon, we have this new card as well, which makes this deck really run smoothly, which is the Metal Saucer, which lets you attach a metal energy from your discard to one of your benched metal Pokemon. All of our Pokemon are metal, so all of them can be attached to. This is great. You just got to make sure you have the right one on the bench. Another card that's important in this deck is Metal Frying Pan. 1, we got to get rid of that fire weakness. 2, negative 30 damage on top of the Full Metal Wall is really amazing. So I have 3 of these in the deck. You could maybe go down to 2, you could go up to 4. I find that with the number of prizes that you're giving up, 3 is about right because you're not going to have probably more than 3 attackers in any given game, especially given the energy counts, all that stuff. So I feel like 3 is good. I usually found them pretty quick. Then we have 2 escape boards. The escape boards are obvious for the Jirachis, so you have a nice pivot Pokemon. You could put them on some other Pokemon, but really they're there for the Jirachis. In terms of other items, we have 2 rare candies for the Corviknight line. We have 2 reset stamps because I found that when I didn't have any reset stamps in, my opponent had the ability to build up enough of a hand with those resources to start taking down some of my big, beefy Pokemon. So the reset stamp is good once they've taken out, say, your Lucario Melmetal. They're down to 3 prizes. Now they only have 3 cards in hand. You can do that once, maybe twice in a game. It's really hard for them to find the resources to then get around these other Pokemon with all these damage modifiers and everything else. 2 switches because, as I said before, Zacian, if it's your main attacker in a game, needs switching options. And then 1 Great Catcher. I have the Great Catcher in here because you are hitting basically perfect numbers if you get set up against most tag teams. That's really important for taking some extra prizes. I could not find the space in here for custom catchers thus far. There are other versions, but I think because I'm running so many Pokemon, that makes it very difficult to find space for customs. And then finally, we get to the energy count, which I am running for 10 metal energy. I have found that 10 metal energy is a very good number to run. I mean, you could always play with this, but between the 10 here and then the 4 metal saucers, you'll usually have access to enough energy to accelerate to things so that you are able to attack every turn, starting probably turn 2 or 3. And then once you get going, you're good to go, basically. Your opponent's going to have a hard time OHKOing anything. If they do OHKO anything, they'll have wasted a lot of resources probably to do it. So yeah, this is the Zacian V Super Tank deck. I like it. I feel like it's run really well. I think the Galarian Berserker, again, not something I've seen a lot of, and the Corviknight is an absolute beast. I was testing against other people, and that Corviknight, man, you get that thing powered up, you hit in, you have all of the stuff going for you. Your opponent's sitting there looking at this 1 prizer going, I'm gonna have to 2-3 shot a 1 prizer? What is this? So that's one of those things where like you might be forcing your opponent to custom catcher just to get around a Corviknight for a turn. And that's a good feeling. So yeah, that is the Zacian V deck profile. Let me know what you think, what changes you would make, and let me know too what other deck profiles you'd like to see and like me to cover. Just so you know, you can subscribe, all that good stuff. Support me on Patreon if you like this kind of stuff. You can also see some early access pack opening videos via Patreon. Those are all unlisted now. So yeah, but I will catch you guys in a future video. Carpe awesome.